What's up, yo? 6:31 here in Mexico time. I don't know what the fuck time that is, but jump right in. Let's jump right in because I heard something in the second portion of the second part of the, I'm going to call it the Eric Weinstein and Terrance Howard podcast. I wish there was a way to get a hold of that guy because, like him, I was also touched by whatever this thing is that has given him all this supernatural ability. And not to disappoint or bullshit or anything like that, because I don't want to disappoint anybody at this point forward, because he's been given a gift that he doesn't understand. He is understanding some of it, and he's trying to translate it as a layperson. This is not the first time this has happened to somebody. This happened to a man. I want some way for somebody to bring this up, because this is not a new phenomenon. This happened to a few people. There are some people that it happened to very young, and they went on to went to work in farms and stuff. So hold on a minute, because I need to at least make some notes so you could see over my shoulder, so that you'll see that both of us are idiots. We might be idiots. We might be just normal kids. But here's what happened. In the public school system, we were all trained to be C and D students. All of us were trained to be fed a certain diet, to be distracted by television in a certain way, to cause conflict with our parents and homework and so on and so forth that would cause a loss of focus in school, so that we would become C and D students, just enough to get by, so we would be able to count money, because that's obviously why we're here. Count money so that we can raise a family, get divorced, have child support, and have the system fuck us from within and leave us soulless and used up. One thing I want to definitely tell you is that this Mexican candy, I really recommend that if you do come to Mexico, is that you get some of this tamarindo candy. This stuff is good. It does have seeds in it, so when you're chewing on it, do not be surprised if there's a big old seed in it. But I'm not going to be chewing on that today, because I would rather chew the fat with you. Here we are with a guy who, on the Joe Rogan podcast, talking to Eric Weinstein, he said by accident, he found a couple correlations between these measurements that the elements are in. If you guys know the tree of life, which is just tetrahedrons, which is circles upon circles upon circles that measure up, what he did was he turned it sideways and made it three-dimensional. Then when he turned it three-dimensional, he was able to see a mathematical formula that was made in the past. He was able to revise it and then see an error in it, and then take that error in the pattern, and then able to then expand upon the error in the pattern. So when and this is where the enlightening part comes. This is where whatever it is that's speaking to him, I get excited when I talk about this, because all of this stuff that I would before have said this was total horseshit, but now having it had to happen to me, okay? The same thing happened to me that happened to Terrance Howard. So whatever's happening to Terrance Howard, and all these people are criticizing him, saying he's crazy, that he's an actor. Yes, he definitely is an actor. There's a reason why all of the people that create things and build things do it all by accident. None of these things, when we discover, the cures to things, I will tell you that just by some kind of intuitive flash, I'll be given some kind of an insight to something medical. And that will lead me down this rabbit hole of other things that I know people say rabbit holes are bad or whatever, but I want to show you this right here. Okay, I used to have very, very bad. I see, you can still see some scarring from it. All right, and that right there, even that to this day, okay, that's from falling down in jiu-jitsu. But all this before, all of people didn't want to roll with me in jiu-jitsu because I had psoriasis all over my elbows. There was no cure for it. I have gone to doctors upon doctors upon doctors, only to find out by accident that melanotan, which is melanin in a peptide format, that my friend brought here when he came to visit, left it here with me. Melatonin. Melatonin is the peptide. It's called melanotan 2. It's got a ton of side effects, but one of the side effects is it does a number on psoriasis. So if anybody who has psoriasis, okay, is experimenting with different things, that's one thing. The other thing was DMSO. Now, what is DMSO? DMSO is dimethyl sulfoxide. And dimethyl sulfoxide is FDA approved for bladder pain in women. So it has several other uses besides bladder pain in women. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have one of these. DMSO was originally made for racehorses. Racehorses always had bad knees. Well, I found out that this DMSO shit, is dimethyl sulfoxide. It's FDA approved for bladder pain in women. So I was like, wow, how is that possible? If it's just a gel, you put it on the outside. Well, guess what happens? Anything that DMSO touches is absorbed into the body. If that is something that the body can benefit from, it'll circulate within the body within 30 seconds. DMSO, whatever it attaches itself to, whatever molecule that it attaches itself to, it's like getting an injection. So what I found by accident, just like Terrance Howard found by accident, is in DMSO when it came to psoriasis. So you see, by accident, we have been given some of these superpowers by divine inspiration, because there's nothing that can replicate what we've seen. And we're actually now trying to decipher whatever it is that this thing is that is speaking to us probably every single day. I know you guys think that Terrance Howard probably has got a screw loose, and you're probably right. But here is the wonderful thing about, he is an actor and he's a speaker. And what would I be? I'm a silly ass YouTuber, you know what I mean? So people would say they want used up, washed up people to send the message out or re-educate the population. But in order to re-educate or educate the population, we have to remember too that the universities have basically, they have everything closed down. If whatever study you submit, like for example, hey guys, good morning. Here's what Terrance Howard and I had in common. Both of us were exposed to a technology and a bit of science that we had no idea what we were being shown. what we're being told, whatever it is that's coming from wherever it is alien to us. So however it is that this thing wants to communicate to us human beings is by subconscious means. By okay. This is where we get into the deep waters of schizophrenia. The brain damage brigade can really relate to that one now, can't we? Because when it comes to profound ideas, they're limited to only to the autistic. The school system have trained us to become C and D students since we were in kindergarten. Some of us see it in different fluctuations in different parts of the world or different parts of the country, but there is no question about that we have been programmed, especially the men. It's almost like there's a dial to it. And what I said was that along comes Terrance Howard with not just any interesting theory about the periodic table, but that every element has a musical note. And he took the periodic table, which is rectangular as this, and then instead he says, no, this is all actually just one-dimensional, and he says it's all like this. It's a helix, basically, and that we're going about this thing all wrong, which I understand what he's saying at this point, because every element on the periodic table, as you go up, if you were to just put arrows on the periodic table instead of letters or anything like that, that us dumbasses would understand, then you would go, oh, that's what that means. Because he basically is saying that every element is basically on a musical scale. So if I was to take this swirly thing that he came up with and put it into layman's terms that you and I would understand if we understood music, and that would be on a bar. Okay? If we were writing music, it would be the same thing as if we were writing music. Just like his theory that this thing should be a swirly thing, this could be translated into music because every element has a musical note. So he is basically saying that you can influence other elements with music. Now let's take this theory and put it into practice. So go on your car stereo and put on the music that makes you feel the happiest you've ever been in your life. A time that maybe your kid was born and that song was playing, or maybe you were in love and that song was in your mind. That will influence everything about your mindset for that particular day. Start as early as possible. As you're doing this, I want you to program your mind by saying that this is an experiment, because the mind doesn't know the difference between an experiment and the real thing. Doesn't know Anyway, so to make this easy for you, put this into practice, and we're going as far as this is the lunacy of how he put this together. This is how, if you and I saw this, it would look like scribble scrabble of a kid, like with crayons writing whatever. But I see what the man was saying, and I have found a use for it. So I'm going to tell you what my use is for Terrance Howard's use of the periodic table. As you guys know, I've been in fire science for a very, very long time now. And it was all by accident. So I'm going to show you how Terrance Howard's ideas can be used in real life. Just by a couple scribble scrabble things from an idiot has no education. Would you like to see that? Because it doesn't really matter at this point who's educated and who's not. Because if God is going to use people like me or Terrance Howard, he's going to do it by any means necessary. The audience is going to be the exact people that he wants to hear it. So as with the discovery I made with DMSO, and I proved it to you by putting DMSO on my elbows where I had psoriasis. It came to me as an intuitive flash, and it came to me via evidence handed down for little bits of like definitely things that were random, that I didn't plan for, that I didn't go research for, that by accident, it just so happened that I ran into a medical article talking about the effect of vitamin A on the skin, and I had acne at the time. So if there was a way that I could affect the acne on my skin without resorting to antibiotics, which I really, really needed, but instead combating it with other forms of exterior vitamin A and vitamin D. So when I found out that if you take a packet, let's say if you take a packet of mushrooms from the grocery store, white button mushrooms, and you take them out in the sun, and you put them out in the sun for 15 minutes, they're going to absorb doses and doses and doses and doses of D3, which is an anti-aging drug, which is very expensive to buy at the pharmacy. So D3, being an anti-aging drug, is something that if you want people to die young so you don't have to pay Social Security, you won't want them to eat these things because they would make them live longer. And God forbid we want people to fucking live longer. So that is why people like Terrance Howard were given gifts like this, is because the powers that be do not want people to live longer. We are here on this planet to make money and to produce children and for them to make money and to always be in a circle of debt for generations to come. However, knowing this information, now you know this. Now you know what's necessary to be done, because we know we're all dependent on money and on government, and it's so stupid that we have to have it. Bodybuilders are the best scientists you ever met. They find out stuff that doesn't make sense. D3, K2, B1. If you want to live longer, buy these 3 supplements. If you want to do steroids and die young, then do whatever every stupid idiot bodybuilder on TV talks about on YouTube. Research bullcrap that's outdated or downright dangerous. Or if you want to live longer, remember something. I made the mistake of doing steroids for years without going off, damaging all of my organs, all of my relationships. Anything bad that could possibly go wrong fucking did when I was on steroids, because I was abusing them in order to win a stupid fucking plastic trophy that you could probably buy for $5. If you want to live longer, you need D3 in your life. The weird thing is that it's very expensive to buy, and the IUs, the international units, because it does come in milligrams, it's in micrograms. The normal dose, that's a basic grandpa dose, is 4,000 IUs. You got to triple that. So if these doses come in 4,000 IUs, look for one that has them in 6,000 or 10,000 even IUs, because you can go up to 40,000 IUs. That's what I'm saying, is that these D3s that you see at the pharmacy at CVS or whatever, that just say like 2,000 IUs, who the fuck are they kidding? They know this stuff will keep you alive, which is why it's expensive, but they know they can't not sell it unless it's totally fake. In that case, who gives a shit? I just told you that if you go to the grocery store and you buy button mushrooms is a white regular mushrooms. You take them outside for about 15 minutes, you will absorb enough D3 in button mushrooms to have a hefty dose. Let's say that you have a family of 6 people and it's a pound of mushrooms, which is a lot of mushrooms, by the way. Mushrooms don't weigh anything. But you're going to get almost all of you, every single one of you at the table is going to get 40,000 IUs of D3. I just put you on some game, guys. Okay? So in the event you're really serious about these things and living longer, these are not inspirational, intuitive flashes that came to me. These came to other scientists that were real people. That's what they do. They study this thing. Then, when scientists study things like D3, bodybuilders will go, yeah, well, how can we get D3 out of the food instead of having to depend on pharmaceutical shit? And then, because, bodybuilders, we cook, we go grocery shopping. That's what we do. Our whole life is literally revolves around ourselves. We're so selfish and self-centered and self-seeking that we can't be in long-term relationships. So we're forced to cook for our own asses. And so guys like me find out tricks like this and tell guys like you who are fucking killing yourselves with packaged food and not cooking for yourselves. The second one that I think is probably more important than any of them is K2. Now you guys have probably heard of the Mountain K2, or maybe you are a skier and you know the skis, the brand K2. Well, K2 here, I'm going to put this in green so you can see it, because I know you can't see shit. K2, a lot of times is packaged with D3. So you're very, very safe to find a D3 product with K2. What K2 does is, if there is calcium in your arteries, and there is, as if you and I have a pulse, and you have eaten anything that has anything in it, cholesterol is not the enemy. Calcium in the arteries is the enemy. That is the plaque. Do you remember that name, plaque? Guys, that's fucking calcium. What have they been trying to push on us for years and years and years and years? Is that milk does the body good. If you want to get big, strong bones, you got to drink tons of what? Calcium. Calcium has been the fucking enemy of the arteries since the day one. Not cholesterol, not fucking eggs, not cheeseburgers. Calcium. What has been the enemy of human beings, making 80% of the whole population of the United States fat? It has been inflammation, pushed on us by who? The grain industry of all people, the sugar industry of all people. All of the hamburgers at McDonald's all have 1 teaspoon of sugar in them, each. When a baby is born, they give them a little drop of sugar as they're born. So the first thing in their mouth that causes them to calm down and feel good about life for a short period of time is that slamming, jamming, dopamine producing. And I'm telling you, my feet are flying off my fucking, off the ground right now with how much this guy, Terrance Howard, has in common with me. Because both of us, neither of us, went to formal education to go and study XYZ. Neither of us did. Neither of us did. I went to engineering school. I had no intention of ever thinking about doing nutraceuticals. But because of my health problems, because of what I did to myself using steroids, it forced me to research what could reverse the aging that I did to myself. How can I, if my liver is fucked up, how can I reverse it? Because if all of our cells are replaced in a certain period of months, then why do we have prolonged sickness and aging? if we have, like, for example, diabetes, if our whole pancreas is replaced within 8 months, then why is it still diseased? Why is it then not replaced? If a pancreas is the cause of diabetes, and if the pancreas cells are replaced within a certain period of months, then why then is diabetes still repeated? Because I believe it's beyond beyond the pancreas. I believe that it's the programming in the brain. And the programming in the brain comes from what comes through the stomach. Everything goes through the guts. The bacteria in the stomach affects the brains. The brain tells the body what to do. The reason why we're in pain, it's not from physical muscle that's broken. It's for nerve pain. All the aches and pains you have in your whole body right now, I don't give a fuck what it is. You might have a broken fucking arm with bones sticking out. It's not the physical muscle or even the bone that hurts. It's the nerve endings that are around the muscle that have an electrical charge going on right now as you and I speak. Take a look at my fingers for a second. And I want you to pretend with me that there is a static charge happening between all my fingers right now that is invisible to you and me. So if there is a charge of electricity passing between my fingers right now, if I hit my fingers with a fucking hammer right now, you're going to say, oh, see there, bro? I just told you. You just bullshitted us all because that just happened. You hit your fucking hand with a hammer, and now you're bleeding and all your fingers are busted. So tell me that's all nerve pain. Tell me that it's not. So you see there's an electrical process going on in our body that can be measured. It's actually predictable now with a thing called, a study that is called metabolite. It is called a metabolite exam. And what will happen when you take this exam, it tests your DNA for the family history of what could cause you to die in the future. I heard that right. Just by studying your ability to metabolize certain things will tell you if you're an alcoholic, that tell you you're deficient in iron because your mom was anemic. It'll tell you all your family history and you'll be able to combat it before it happens. You can also get some of the dark news, and that is that it can also predict how many years you have left to live. On the ends of our DNA are these things called telomeres. They actually look to me like, okay, so let's just say this is your X, Y, okay? And what is happening at the ends, we're going to say these are like fingernails, modern woman fingernails that look like raptor claws, okay? These are telomeres that are on the ends of our DNA. And every year, they get shorter. They get shorter and shorter and shorter. And as time goes by, either with environment or by traumatic events. If you live in a stressful environment, and this is the absolute truth, boys, this is fucked up if you ask me. Boys that are born into a household without a father are born with shorter telomeres. That means they're going to live less long than boys who have fathers. Telomeres on DNA are measurable. Now, you got to ask yourself, okay, so that's a ticking time bomb of if my telomeres are only so long and I've lived a shitty life and I've never had a father, then how can I make my life longer? Now I know that I'm fucked. Here's what you do. And I've found this to be true because I'm just exactly the same. I went and had my telomeres measured. You'll never believe me in a million years unless you saw the results. So my internal age is 12 years old. If you have a methylation exam, it'll tell you where you're deficient in B1, which is why you're insomniac. K2, heart problems in your family is because of a lack of K2, because of an overabundance of calcium. The 1970s, the amount of heart attacks that were increased as a result of the dairy industry and the sugar industry combining both industries, replacing normal over regular stuff, putting stuff like vaccines into milk in order to regulate population. All real, all documented. Also, Bayer Corporation had 20,000 tainted vials of a medicine for people with blood problems. Those 20,000 vials were shipped out to Africa and to Latin America. This is what caused the AIDS virus to break out in Africa, to create the so-called having sex with monkeys and getting HIV is what caused HIV. Well, it was created in a laboratory by somebody special, and it was shipped out via Bayer, and it was spread throughout all the world. And this is well documented, so this is not something I just made up. Bayer took no responsibility for it. In fact, they shipped it out anyway, having known that they had this really bad problem on their hands. So yes, that happened. So if you get a methylation test, it'll tell you what you're deficient in that's going to cause you to die young. So if you have an environmental problem, you could combat environmental problem with your supplementation. And the reason why I know this works for me is because while I was on steroids, I did tons and tons and tons of experimenting with different vitamins and different minerals. And if I had a really, really good response to one of these different supplements, I would use them over and over and over again, and I would get like just amazing results. So let's talk about B1 for a second for you insomniacs. The reason why I bring these three things up, these three supplements, is because the reason why bodybuilders who are on steroids die young is because, one, they never go see the doctor, they never go get bloods done, they never check what's gonna happen to them. So if they get one of these exams done, they get all these results that says you're all fucked up here, stop doing this, do that. Now your telomeres are going to stop disintegrating before your eyes. Now let's say you're not a bodybuilder who's not on steroids. You're a normal person, but instead of killing yourself with steroids, you're eating prepackaged tambarinos from some Mexican candy place that might be loaded with corn syrup or something like that, which, is a hormonal disruptive. So you're instead poisoning yourself with packaged food, anything that comes in plastic. And so one of the doctors who I really look up to says is that one of the first things I did was I stopped eating anything that was wrapped in plastic. Once I started doing that, it forced me to not just not eat out with, people, and I had to really look at things that I had to buy in the store, and everything was in plastic. So now everything that I was saying was making sense to a fucking PhD. And as a guy who is not an educated person, who doesn't have a PhD, the fact that I found these things out and shared these things with a PhD in pharmacology, who put these things together, now handed that off to David and so on. We're talking about these guys are taking apart DNP now and came up with NMA, NMN. This year I found out that dementia may be linked to Lyme disease. Cancer may be related to parasites. So I went and I listened and I learned some things and I was confused and I didn't believe it at first. Every single ailment, ADHD, right here. It's because boys, not girls, boys that cannot metabolize folic acid. Now it sounds good, right? Folic acid. When you see something that says enriched white flour, you think, oh, that's good for you, right? That's got to be good for you because it's like folic acid. Folic acid is an amino acid, building block of muscle. That must be good. No, folic acid is found nowhere in the human body. It's not produced by the human body. Folic acid is put into every single cereal, breakfast food, anything wrapped in plastic has folic acid in it. And what is happening is that boys who buy, or if you buy cereal and it has folic acid as one of the main ingredients, or it says enriched white flour, that is what causes ADHD. That is what causes ADHD. It isn't the vaccines that are causing ADHD. DMSO, for example, penetrates the cell just like an injection. Folic acid affects boys. It cannot, basically they're getting pumped up on folic acid, going to school, getting trapped in a fucking classroom for 8 hours. And then you wonder after an hour and a half why we crash and burn and then we can't pay attention. Well, it's because we've been pumped up with folic acid, which boys who cannot metabolize folic acid are doomed to fail in school if they eat too much folic acid. One of the S. So as a result, anybody that cannot metabolize, well, I guess in reality, yeah, methylate, folic acid is doomed to have the side effects of not being able to pay attention in school or learn. And then we call these kids disabled. We say they have reading disabilities. No, the problem is that our moms were programmed this bullshit pyramid, this bullshit food pyramid that says that the grains are the basic needs of all human beings, which is bullshit, and that the last thing in the world we need are eggs and fat and meat, stuff like that. We were all lied to. You need to reverse that. Take all shit out of your diet. Anything that's wrapped in plastic, throw it in the fucking trash. Go into your refrigerator, clean it all out, blow it out, clean it out, put some ozone in there for a while. And then go to the grocery store and really get your glasses out, because I know half of y'all can't read anymore. And get the one eye that's good and start reading the packaging. They started printing the packaging smaller, the letters smaller on the nutrition label, so we can't read it anymore. Now it's microscopic. Now it might as well be a QR code. So as you get smarter, as you start to eat better, you're going to find out that eggs are good for you and your boys and your kids. They showed an actual study of IQ in boys that one egg a day, one egg, improved a kid's IQ by 15%. Now, I know there's truth behind this because eggs have an ingredient called choline. Choline is a nootropic that affects the intelligence, your ability to read, to absorb information, and to regurgitate it, and maybe even put it into practice. The name of that chemical is called choline. Choline is in all eggs. So every egg that we were all told was bad, remember? Remember when we were told eggs are bad, that it's cholesterol that kills people? I just told you right here. Calcium is what builds up in the arteries. They call it plaque. We always assumed that plaque was connected with cholesterol. Well, it's not. It's calcium. What breaks down calcium is K2. So you need to buy K2. Go to the store today, buy K2, start taking K2 every single day. It's usually packaged together with D3. Get the highest IU possible. Can't OD on this stuff. It's not going to give you diarrhea. These are the things that were gifted to me that I want to tell you about, so that in the event you want to go back to the gym, you want to get yourself in shape, there's a reason why they don't want you to know this stuff. They want you to be addicted, because the more and more inflammation you have, the more and more junk food that you eat, the more and more that cycle that has affected all the bacteria in your body, that affects the mind, okay, that affects all the hormones in your body, that makes you fat. So if you have insomnia, which I have insomnia, this dude right here has had insomnia for 20 years. I have not slept a full night's sleep in over 20 years. It's not possible for me. Since the day I stepped off the plane coming back from Kuwait, have I ever slept a single night all the way through without a fucking serious nightmare or several nightmares or night traumas and shit like that. And that programmed my brain into insomnia. Now I love it, because now it has helped me to recognize the brain damaged areas of my brain. If I didn't have insomnia, I wouldn't have researched into what caused insomnia, how come I have it, how many concussions do I have, and so on and so forth. So by getting someone to tell me which vitamin, based on the methylation test of me, why am I an insomniac? And the answer was because you are deficient in B1. All these years I've been deficient in B1. I never knew this shit. Why? Because they never had a test for methylation. They didn't have this test years ago that said, oh, by the way, when you're 36 and if you go over a certain body weight and body fat, you're going to become diabetic at this age. They know where and exactly when you're going to get sick, up until age 55. And they say by age 55, on the average, every 5 Americans will be on 5 medications by the time they're 50. So these things were given to me by the same spirit, I believe, that Terrance Howard was given all of these mathematical equations. So if you call him crazy, it's because he was given partial information that he could understand as a layman. You see, here's what happened to this other guy, and this is a great story. This guy got bonked in the fucking head. When he came out of this coma, he suddenly knew how to do physics. And he learned how to do math. He suddenly knew how to do other languages. He studied for minutes. He was like Neo, sucking in all this information. Suddenly knows jiu-jitsu. I don't know about that part. That's taken me fucking years and I still suck. But he was suddenly he was gifted all of these things. That is one thing. Now, let's say a person who then loses the ability to use their legs, suddenly their arms are just unbelievably strong, and they now have this super ability to, like do pull-ups like it's nobody's business. So what is happening is that whatever this spirit is, now I'm going to talk about it in a minute. I don't want to cry. Terrance said what it was. Terrance said what this thing was that has given me the same thing. That has given me this surplus of whatever information that is foreign to me. None of us are experts in these fields that this information is coming to. None of us. All right? How many people in the 1860s were electrical engineers? Not too many, because there wasn't too much engineering, nor was there electricity. But suddenly out of nowhere, at 1860, suddenly all of these ideas, George Washington Carver with his peanuts, Garrett A. Morgan with the traffic signal, were gifted these abilities. And they were not dismissed. How many of you guys remember who Washington Carver was? George Washington Carver was an inventor during the 1860s. He was a chemist from Georgia. And he was gifted information from the old world about peanuts. And we say it was our ancestors. Well, our ancestors definitely preserved information from the old world. The old world was the world that was here prior to some kind of a cataclysm that affected the entire world, where it may have been covered in 3 to 4 feet of mud at some point, causing this natural disaster to be some areas of North America be covered up for 20 to 30 feet, and they've been covered up for thousands of years, even prior to what the Indians would be considered the cavemen. Because prior to that, there was a civilization that's far, far more advanced than we are. Nobody knows who they were. Nobody knows where these things came from. But there is something that is absolutely true. That is the spirit that is speaking to Terrance Howard and to myself is not of this world. Because if it wasn't this world, why is it speaking English? Why isn't this thing telling us the instructions of what it wants us to do? Instead, it gives us this scatterbrained, bits and pieces of these incredible ideas. Do you know what it told me to do? Whatever this thing was. It said to invent a new fire helmet. And since I know I'm already where I am, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. This new fire helmet, this new mask, if you will, basically was similar to that you see in maybe some catalogs for children's swimming gear. Okay, instead of it having a typical snorkel like you and I halfway drown with as kids, instead of the snorkel being inside of the kid's mouth or whatever, instead they attached it to a very airtight helmet, actually more like a face shield. So it is basically, it's a mask, but inside the mask it has this snorkel attachment, and it's on the very top. So while the kids are swimming, the air comes through the top here, instead of it being here where you got your kid inside here. You get the mask, here's a smiley face and whatever. So I was literally dreaming about this thing right here. I was dreaming about this thing right here, on because the last fire that I was in, or burn house I was in, there was a girl that was with me, and she didn't have the strength to drag a hose upstairs. So she freaked out. She's freaking out, and she's having to go out. So now I am stuck here with this thing, but I can't see where the corner is because it's all black. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what would be badass? If I had one of those masks like the kids have for swimming, but instead of it just being for swimming, I could also use it for firefighting. Now in the corner here, I wanted to put just a small monitor so that I could see forward with a fire cam. So I could see in the dark. Basically all it is just a video camera. Did you guys know that all the video cameras and security cameras can all see in the dark? They can also see at fires. And for some fucking reason, we haven't invented a fire helmet that has the ability to see through smoke, so I don't get disoriented and I'm fucking upside down and I'm trapped in grandma's fucking telephone wire and it's wrapped around my fucking, my tank 6 times. Oh, yeah, that happens. Yeah. Not to me anymore, but it happens. All right, so let's see here. Okay, that's a piece of hose. I don't need that. I don't need no hose around here. That's one thing you're going to find at the professor's house. You're not going to find too many hose around here. There's a little piece of hose for you. Out of here. So I was thinking to myself, why? I hope you guys are taking notes, because if you don't, and these are freebies. I got enough of them, you have no idea. Okay, so I was like, why is it that we don't have some kind of a monitor inside of the mask, so at least we could see through the smoke? Because you can't see a damn thing in the smoke. Again, these are those inspirational thoughts that came to me. The very next day, no joke, we have this equivalent of like Amazon or eBay. It's called Mercado Libre. And on the front page was kids swimming stuff, because we had been talking about the summer camp for the kids and getting them some swimming gear to play with, to practice with, so they could learn how to do diving before actually going to diving school, how to learn to wear a mask and how to wear swim fins, because nobody knows even how to swim here. Okay? So you see the connection that I say that Terrance Howard said what this was. This isn't what you think it is. This isn't an alien. He said this was an angel. He said this was an angel that told him all this stuff. And I told you the story of what happened to me. I told you that I went and I was trapped. I went for a survival, stupid idiot, training out in Puebla for 8 months, like a fucking retard, an autistic retard that we are. And instead of, staying in a normal house, with like electricity and food and a refrigerator, no. I thought, like a lot of people, oh, how cool it would be to be off-grid. No food, no water, no electricity, no bathroom, wet firewood, no chimney. But it rained every day, so we always had water. The last 45 days, I almost starved to death. If I hadn't been so fortunate to meet this guy who was walking his dog to the veterinary clinic for the free rabies shots. And he said he had seen me in that old cabin. I said, yes, sir. He goes, you okay? Sure. He said, I have the ranch over there. We make tacos at 4 o'clock. You're invited. And I was so hungry. I had been eating, at that point, I had like full blown gone just mad. Because the only thing that I had was, we had fruit trees everywhere. Apple trees, pear trees, plums, golden plums. Good God, they were good. But if anybody of you know, fruit sucks to survive off of. Fruit and vegetables are great when you got them with some protein. But if you don't have protein, you'll lose weight faster than a Tijuana crack whore. You'll feel real shitty. I say just deal with it. And I dealt with it. I lost a lot of weight. I lost 60 pounds while I was out there, which is a lot of reasons why. To add insult to injury, or it was an extra bonus. Had I not lost all that weight in my face, I would not have seen all this scarred tissue in my arms, where all those injections I had taken over the years had fucked up my, like, this under all that skin right there, inside the muscle, is like a knot. And all it is muscle that is hardened like a fucking, like if you hit me as hard as you could, you'd hurt your hand because it feels like a piece of rock. And I went to the physical therapist, and she used this machine on me to like push it out and look like a big spoon, and to kind of get it to break up or whatever, kind of push whatever the fuck it is, because it's scar tissue. It's from getting injections in the exact same place over and over and over again. What I didn't know, and what the doctor did not explain to me, was that one of the reasons is that a lot of us were so big for so many years that if they were just like pull the plug and we would shrink down to our actual human size, that all of us would be covered in these golf ball like size, big pools of just hardened muscle that has little or no nervous use in it anymore. So it's basically like a dead star. And a lot of bodybuilders get these all throughout their body, through their backs. A lot of them get them in their necks and their back. I was getting some of them. Well, like I said, it's sort of injection site focused. So if you have a lot of sciatica, it's probably from that. So getting massages does have some relief to it, but really comes down to nerve pain. And nerve pain can be controlled by a couple of avenues that we'll talk on another night, because nerve pain is really the cause of all pain. I don't give a fuck what it is. So one of the things that they give you by default here in Mexico, if you go to the pharmacy, is say, you know what, I got this pain. There is a there's a medicine that's just made for nerve pain in the teeth. And you go to the pharmacy, and I believe it costs like 25 cents for a pack of 4. And so you get one of these that's sublingual, so you put it under your tongue. Within minutes, I'm telling you guys, because you remember I have to get my teeth fucking replaced because I got face first down into the concrete, broke my face, broke my teeth. Oh God, it was horrible. So getting this medicine from the pharmacy, for as cheap as it was, and the pill is really teeny tiny, but like I said, it only affects nerve pain. That makes sense to me. Like I said, the only thing that it could possibly be, if a person is sick. Okay, hold on a second. King Sigma has a very good point here, because he's talking about, I'm out to get breakfast with creatine. Okay. If you guys want to make creatine worthwhile, don't take it with water. Okay? If you have to take it with anything, take it with juice that has sugar in it. The one time I would definitely recommend like grape juice or some natural fruit. Take that by itself. The best time to take creatine actually is post-workout. So post-workout, think about it. Post-workout, we have not been eating for an hour. So our insulin levels when we get out of the gym are going to be low. So if we take in creatine, boom, I'm taking in creatine. My insulin levels are low. The grape juice that I'm taking with it is going to open up that portal for the insulin level to spike, which opens up the doorway to the muscle, and the creatine opens up and gets to enter into the cell, to the muscle cell via insulin. So he has got a point. If he's going to go right now and he's going to take it with orange juice, orange juice has the highest concentration of insulin spiking sugar. and all of this juices combined. Okay, the only reason why I tell guys to get grape juice is what it is. If people want grape juice is better than water. And if you have access to real grape juice, not little kids grape juice, not grape drink, not Tang, none of that stuff, then you're going to have that insulin spike. If not, it's going to be an even weirder one. Because you want to get an insulin spike from just a little shot of grape juice. Not tons of sugar, but it is going to do the job. It's going to open up, like I said, it's a portal for creatine. Insulin is the gatekeeper, basically. If you don't have anything in your stomach because you're carb fasting or you're carb cycling, and at the time, all you're doing is eating just ground beef, no rice, no vegetables, no tortillas, no tamales, none of that shit, none of that good stuff. So you have nothing that's raising your insulin levels that is not going to shuttle in. It's just like taking creatine with water. Taking creatine with water, you might as well go to the fucking kitchen right now, whip out your dick, pour creatine into the fucking sink and piss all over it, because it's just going to be that effective. The other thing too, and this is a secondary caution to you guys, is that the three things that we need to live is your heart. Hello, heart. K2. Heart is the number one. What is the number two? If the heart is number one, lungs has to be number two. There's only three. Okay? What would number three be? It's not the brain. No, it's not the brain. Because if that was true, that the brain would include the eyes, and they didn't include this. The third part, the most important part that determines your length of time on this earth, as far as telomeres are concerned, you can actually tell how a person's telomeres are behaving by the size of their thigh muscles. That's correct. The thigh muscles. And I'm talking about muscular thigh, not fat thigh, not big old thighs, not fat ass thighs. A person's time on earth here depends on their heart condition, their heart health, which just said, if you do 1, 2, 3 things, is that focus on just getting supplementation and eliminating packaged foods. If you could do those two things, you'll save money for one. I realize that you guys could get tons of fucking shit food. Every time you go to a convenience store to pay for gas, you realize that the gas station is a candy store. It is a candy store for alcoholics. Okay, it is a candy store. It doesn't matter if you're buying chips. It doesn't matter if you're buying bread. It doesn't matter if you're buying sodas. All right? You're killing yourself, microdosing yourself with poison every single day. So my encouragement to you today is do what I did. And if you want to start it off the right way, I'm going to tell you the easiest way to do this. The easiest way to change your mind about anything. Because I know none of you guys suffer. I know you guys have never truly suffered. Unless you're a competitive bodybuilder, you have no idea what it's like to diet down hard. When I say diet down hard, I'm talking about sticking to a diet that is so regimented that you would do it and go, my fucking bro over here, you know, the one in Mexico, the one that used to be like jacked like this, he gave me a diet and now I look fucking amazing. But to get this way took 12 weeks of suffering. And this diet he gave me was very fucking hard because I was hungry like half the day for the first 3 days. It sucked so bad. I was just dying to drink a Coke. I was trying to have a Mountain Dew. You know what I mean? I was driving, you know, and I literally felt like stopping at every gas station to go into the motherfucking candy store. So you see, also, another thing that would be fun to do would be to, instead of just sitting in place all the time, is have a routine that distinctly forces you to go to the gym every day. And I'm going to tell you my routine because I, honest to God, hate paying water bills. Yep. Very good. One of the things that we've been able to change about our diets at night is that, what was the old wives' tale? It says never eat, if you want to lose weight, never eat at night. Guys, that is bullshit. Guys, listen to this. I'm putting you guys on so much game right now. I should be charging for this shit by the hour. How much you gotta give me? I want 2 tacos. That's all I want. I want 2 tacos, not American price tacos, because that's a ripoff. I want 2 tacos, 20 pesos. 20 pesos a taco. I want 2 tacos. That's all I'm asking for. I want no money. I just want 2 tacos, Lord. Please send me 2 tacos. May the fucking doorbell ring and have 2 tacos for me, please, sir. Okay, enough said. Okay. So you can see that we all have these new abilities to change our future by changing our diet, because we now know that the bacteria in our stomachs affects our minds. So if we eat like shit, we're going to feel like shit. The mind affects everything. The muscles, how fat you look, everything is connected. Every single thing that we're referring to right now all comes back to poisoning us to be C and D students and not be smart. That is why we were given these fucked up diets, so we would not live to age 65 or beyond age 65 when we're supposed to retire. It used to be 55. They moved that up because we were living too long. And they figured out, oh, we don't have to pay these assholes back Social Security if we give them a diet that's shitty, tell them it's healthy, and then if anybody opposes that, we'll say they're quacks. Like, this guy is practicing medicine without a fucking license. I'm just telling you guys what the hell I've been given. And if that is offensive or you feel like that's medical advice, then yeah, whatever. That's what I say about that. Today we learned a few things. What do we say that plaque was? What does plaque consist of? Is it cholesterol? Wrong. Cholesterol is not the problem, nor is it the cause. What it is calcium buildup in the arteries. How is it removed? It's removed by taking K2. If you cannot afford D3, buy some button mushrooms. Those are just basic mushrooms. Go out, put them in the sun for 15 minutes. You will have enough for every person in your family to have 40,000 IUs of D3, which is a recommended dose. It's a whole hell of a lot cheaper than buying that pack of fucking bullshit that's 4,000 IUs, and you got to take 10 of those to get the best dose for anti-aging. It's stupid. Go buy food that has the ingredient of the supplement that you want to use to improve your life. Turmeric, for example. If I did not know this I don't know who came up with this, but the only way to take turmeric in order to get to kurkuma is to put black pepper in it. You have, for every 100 grams of turmeric, to put 1 gram of black pepper. Who the hell knew this? Like, who knew to take that red, yellow thingy and pulverize it and then put this makes you sneeze stuff and put it in the same bag together, and who knew what ratio? So like I said, when it comes to angels or whoever inspiration that Terrance Howard had come, none of us understand what these angels are saying to us. So we're interpreting it the best we can as human beings. Now, the best example that I had was a guy, he had never done physics before in his life. In fact, I think he was on a farm. He got bumped in the fucking head. When he came out of the coma, he was able to do physics and do complicated math that he had never done before. And so when he actually met a PhD physicist, and he said, explain to me how you figured out this theory without ever having any formal teaching. He said, well, what happens is this thing comes to me in a bright light, and I have basically like a vision before me, but inside my mind of what the mathematical formula is supposed to be. And he goes, that's the way that the angel, here's the angel again, the angel shows it to me. So again, Eric Weinstein in the Joe Rogan podcast does a little bit to try and dismiss Terrance Howard's praise and thanks to the Lord. Now, this is where we fuck up. This is where we mess up. If we do not do it, but in all things, we want to wake up with the heart of gladness towards God, who gave us another day to live, because most of us should be dead. I don't know if we even are alive anymore, because I was a bit of a scallywag myself. So, now that we have this information about ourselves, we now can investigate the causes and conditions of why we die young by using this methylation test. It's a DNA test that actually will measure your telomeres and give your internal date of, like, your internal age. How old are you internally? And my internal age is 12 years old, which is fucking amazing considering I thought when she did the test on me that I was going to be like, okay, I'm now 50 years old. I think it was 49 when I took the test. When I took the test, I was shredded. I had lost all that weight because I had been in the woods for 8 months in that survival fucking stupid shit I was doing. Don't ever do that. Unless you have some fucking reason to be a survivalist and you need to take the survivalist course, I don't recommend it. You live off 500 calories a day or less. Okay, so no, that's not true. Because I had gotten a bag. Someone had given me a bag of the Sam's Club weight gainer, like mass protein. It was like protein mass or whatever that brand name is. They said, take this just in case you need calories. And I was like, oh man, that's so nice. And they gave me this bag. It was like a dog food bag. Of this protein that had just shit tons of sugar and carbohydrates in it. And at the end of my survival course, the last 45 days, I was actually drinking those protein shakes 3 or 4 per day until the day that I no longer needed to be at that camp anymore, and I was out of there. I was like, oh, but let me tell you all something. When you haven't eaten anything and you got protein powder to drink on top of not eating anything for fucking weeks and months at a time, because this is how this shit went. It went from here I am, I'm survivalist mode, day 1 of 90, okay? And I have stockpiles of food, rations, everything is organized, has dates on it. Coffee cans of ground coffee. And I was going to use those cans of coffee to make rocket stoves and all this bullshit. So yes, I was one of those guys that said, God, it would be so cool to live off grid. So why don't I go do that? Well, wildly to find out that while I'm living off grid and almost fucking dying, I meet this family by accident. They take me to, to see these cool rivers, and, their farm was massive. It was you would meet these people and be like, oh, they're so poor, I should give them a few bucks. I went to their 55 fucking acre ranch that had their daughter's family, their niece's family, their brother's family, the whole families with 18 people each. And they all had nice cars, they had paid off trucks, had heavy equipment like bobcats and shit. Have you ever priced a bobcat lately? Hello? These people weren't poor at all. I was the poor one living in a cabin, didn't have electricity, didn't have water, didn't have food anymore, and had 2 pobrecito dogs sleeping on a cot with me. And every night it got colder and colder and colder. You're thinking, oh, how cold could it be in Mexico? How about 0 every night? And then fog rolls in, and that's freezing, and then they have freezing rain on top of that. So, needless to say, staying in bed in this freezing-ass camping fucking cabin, and then I go and I see these people, and I'm like, oh, my whole survival plan, goes right out the fucking window. They invited me for tacos, and I was like, I'm fucking like that monkey thing. So I soon learned that not only does losing shit tons of weight help you live longer, but basically I was intermittent fasting every day for 8 months, and not knowing it, I was reproducing massive amounts of mitochondria. I was detoxing all of my organs, all of them. And one thing that was really, really strange that made me stop and think, was this something that happened, or am I just, am I saying things? Was when I went to this family's house and had tacos, they invited me to go do this angel like ritual. I was like, okay, look, I don't give a shit right now. I'm so hungry. Can we come back and we go eat again? You know what I'm saying? I was just like that. I was like, you guys gonna go do angel rituals and stuff? Okay. And we're gonna come back and eat again, right? Yeah, you betcha. I'll go do whatever you say. Okay. So I go do this. Ignorance, stupidity, ego, what do you want to call it? There's a lot of dumb shit we do. There's a lot of dumb things. The only reason why anybody would sign up for a survivalist thing is that they're planning on the end of the fucking world. And a prepper is somebody who prepares to, at the end of world governments or whatever, that there might be a possibility if they might live slightly longer than the average person, by being able to be mindful enough about their diet and about their surroundings and their ability to gather food in a situation where there is no food and it's almost a warlike situation. So if you are apocalyptic minded or black pilled about the US dollar, the US, or war or whatever, because there are wars going on at the moment that could end all life as we know it. So a survivalist camp would push you not just a little bit into the deep end, it would drag you into the fucking deep end of the pool. So that is one reason why somebody would want to do what I did. And I did document it. And if you see how skinny I got, you would say, oh no, that motherfucker looks dead. People really thought something was really wrong with me, because they were like, how did you get so, they're like, oh, poor guy. Well, I was actually not just very, very skinny, but I also had parasites. So I had to take some medicine from the pharmacy. It was for like tapeworms and whatever kind of parasites that presented itself out there in the woods, especially Lyme disease. As you know, if you get stung by a tick, that a tick can give you Lyme disease, and if you do nothing about the Lyme disease, it'll turn into something that mimics dementia. So you'll have the same effects as somebody who has dementia, the loss of memory, the loss of motor skills, things like that from Lyme disease. And some people are walking around today with a diagnosis or a misdiagnosis of dementia, but they actually just have Lyme disease, gone untreated. Isn't that something? I'd be outraged. Honestly, I'd be outraged if you had a mom or a dad or, sister, brother that had dementia, or you thought they had dementia, and all this time it was just Lyme disease, and they could have gone to the pharmacy. Here in Mexico, by the way, if you go to the pharmacy today with somebody that has dementia, okay, dementia, like a U.S. doctor from Berkeley or whatever, private practice says, yes, here's your dementia diagnosis. Hold on a second, let me just give it right there. And here's your prescription, Mrs. Jones, for dementia medication. Okay, be sure to, you're going to have to refill this every single month for the rest of your life. That'll be $500. Oh, yes, your insurance pays 90% or 90 times what the value of something actually is. So you get charged 190 times. That's how they make their money. Their premiums are bullshit. The whole world is run by insurance companies. That's correct. It's all about money. So all of these things that have come down and passed to Terrance, he gave praise to the Lord because he knew, and I know it happens. You guys want to say, oh, I just want to give, praise to the Lord for helping me have this, Heisman Trophy. Yes, you do. You do. You do have, it's an obligation. If you really understand the mind of God, he's envious of us. He's a jealous God of envious. God is a jealous God. So he declares he needs it. He wants it. He wants the praise of his people. Because it smells good to his nose. It smells like flowers. So I want you to do the same. I want this to happen. You understand what I'm saying at all. But again, I'm mostly having conversations with people who are my son's age. So that in the event he's ever listening, he'd be like, oh, okay. So he'll understand that, I'm not over here just doing what I'm doing. I'm over here actually for some purpose in life. And one of the reasons why Terrance Howard is so ostracized right now is because God forbid he go outside of the mainstream narrative. God forbid that he actually have the presence of an angel. I don't know what his angels look like, but I'm pretty sure they look like the ones that we talked about. And I'm going to tell you, they're huge. They're so big, and they're always with me, Okay? I always have their presence with me. There's more than one. When I'm driving in a car, this is the fucking fucked up part, okay? When I'm driving in the car, let's say we're going on a long distance highway trip. She's in the car with me on this side. And as we're driving, I have to double check because I feel the presence of two people behind me. All of the time. I'm never alone, ever. And they give me nudges all the time to show me that, by the way, Dickweed, you're not alone. And next time, you want to be a smart ass and be smart to people. Next time, we're gonna let them whoop your ass. See what I'm saying? We're gonna let them dive on you. Instead, the last time that some motherfucker tried to attack me, I'm in San Diego, literally walking across from the bank, which of course I was being watched, from the bank, crossing the street, trying to get over to where the taxis are, and out of nowhere, this fucking dude, this Viking-looking guy, comes out of nowhere. He's got no shirt on. He's got jeans on, no belt. He's going, he's running at me. Full sprint. I get to the other side of the road. He gets about halfway through the road, and his pants suddenly discover gravity, and they go down past his knees, and this guy doubles over and hits the fucking pavement, whap, like that. Out of nowhere. Dude's not wearing underwear either, so it was something else. And I was like, stop for a second. I was like, did that just happen? So you could see goodness and mercy are always with me. That's their name, goodness and mercy. They're following me all the time. Now I think, this fucking professor, he's out of his mind. He's schizophrenic or whatever. If that's what being schizophrenic is, then that's a good thing, because this is cool to me. Because never in my life have I ever had the presence, the sensation of something supernatural, ever. Okay? So all that be like some bullshit that somebody's making up that they're lying about because they want to seem special. Me, on the other hand, being the ultimate skeptical who doesn't believe in these things, who says, a lot of stuff that's heretical, it's going to tell the opposite of what, we have all been taught. It's because these things had to physically appear to me in order for me to believe. Seriously. because I was just that hardcore against the idea of some supernatural God having these beings, these angel thingies, that apparently have any kind of influence whatsoever on human beings anymore. Because God doesn't talk to us, and if he does talk to us, it's all in gibberish, which is why when I say that if Terrance Howard said that an angel gave him this information, I can already tell you right now that it's all written in fucking code right now to him. And he is just getting just bits and fucking pieces of the real story. Because we might see the macro of the outside of whatever this matrix formation is, and you and I might see a smiley face or whatever, and the matrix sees the entire body in 3 dimensions. It's not just a stupid 2D smiley face. They see the entirety of not just this, but the human structure, the forms, the cells, every striation in the muscles, the sensation, the pulsation, the electricity passing between the 2 bodies. So we are seeing the clown face, hee hee ha ha hoo hoo, but somebody like Terrance Howard is seeing a 3-dimensional structure that is far more detailed than a 2D thing that you and I are seeing, because we're not programmed to understand anything beyond 3rd grade C average mentalities. That's what we were programmed to be. C and D students. They programmed all of us. If you were a B student, it was because you had a teacher who cared about you in that subject. But normally we've all been groomed in every single way to be terrible at every subject in school. So, like I said, when you and I see a 2D picture, someone like Terrance Howard would see that 2D picture now, because he would get this intuitive flash from the eyes of whatever it is that is giving him the intuitive flash. That whatever is inspiring him at that moment is giving him the bits and pieces of this 2-dimensional object, but they're also giving him a little peek behind the curtain saying, oh, by the way, it's not a 2-dimensional object. It is now a 5D object that has the ability to pass up and down, left and right into 11 different dimensions, which, again, I never see the correlation, because, again, these are foreign alien sayings that are being said to me, and I don't know how to fucking interpret that. Like, how do I interpret 11 dimensions? How am I, as a person, supposed to tell other people, yeah, there's 11 dimensions, but I don't know which one we're in, and I don't know how to pass through up or down, left or right, into any of them. So see what I'm saying? If I have to lie about anything that is pertaining to this, then it's invalid. You see? Which is why anything I see that has Gaia on it, or any of those like charlatans trying to sell products and programs, they haven't experienced what I've experienced. These are people that may have had some kind of a mentorship with someone who did, some guru, but they themselves haven't reached enlightenment, because if they had, they would understand that money's a farce, that it's not worth fighting over, and that it's sort of an inconvenience to even have. Because at this moment in time, that what I see as the United States has become a perpetual game of slavery, and that is to enslave people into a mindset. Don't let them out. Trick them about what the outside world is like and say that it's dangerous, in order to keep people entrapped into a system that says you will consume and buy stuff that you can't afford to impress people you don't like anyway. You're living in a 2-dimensional world, and it is all theater. And the fucking theater started off like this. When you see a theater, what do you see? How fucking far away are you when you're in a theater, right? And I'm not talking about the movie theater. We'll go to that. But I mean, like, a public theater would be like the Colosseum, okay? You would have a theater, and the Colosseum would be full with 100,000 people. So the Colosseum is now full. What did we change to when we went from that to where? We went from Colosseum to theater, as in like Shakespeare theater. Okay, so we went from great big theater as an amphitheater to Shakespeare theater to what? What did we do? What did we do next? What we did was we moved the screen closer and we put in a movie theater, right? So now you're in the movie theater, right? What's that look like to you guys? So now we're in the movie theater. To me, now they've moved the screen all the way forward, right? Okay. So what they came up with next? What they come up with next? The next thing they came up with after the theater, the movie theater, okay, that was one. And now I'm going to put you online and put you on game. What do they want to do when they want to produce more kids? They put it in a drive-in movie theater. So now we don't even have to get out of our cars anymore. That's a great idea. Why don't we keep them conditioned to staying in one spot, but giving them privacy to reproduce? What a great idea. And we'll line them up just like we do in other places, except we'll use cars. We'll give them all a speaker. So everybody gets to watch the movie and reproduce. What does that look like to you, you guys? To me, it looks like a laptop, just like the other one did. To me, it looks like a laptop. See what I mean? So now we've got the movie theater. We went from amphitheater to theater to movie theater. Now we're going to go inside the home. We're going to say home theater. So now we have a home theater, which could be a TV, as big as you could dream of, with big speakers, right? So now we have the home theater. So we went from amphitheater to theater, like Shakespeare theater with 30,000 people, to theater, kids theater, to movie theater, drive-in theater, to home theater. Well, what would you think would be the next progression? What would they next do to keep us? Well, one thing they did was they kept us inside. They knew they could do that. Give us Netflix and chill. Again, movie theater, drive-in theater, Netflix and chill. Same concept, different era, same concept. Boom. So what was the next thing? Home theater. Then we're going to reduce this down to what? A tablet. And then down to a telephone. Then to, what is the optical? Opticals. So we're going to eyeball there. Yeah, to an optical. So now the theater has reduced itself down to an optical or Google Glass. So we have a little Google Glass here. So Google Glass, now we've got it down to that. What's the next part? Well, the next thing would be implant. And it wouldn't be hard to do. Be the time to run like hell, because once it gets to the point where you're wearing an exterior interface in order to control your robot, and the robot is actually controlling you, you are the product. We are not the consumers, you guys. We are the fucking product of a theater. Now that we know that it's a theater, I could say to this theater, let me see the script. Let us see the future. Because that's what Terrance Howard is seeing. He's seeing little bits and pieces of messages that are coming from ourselves. Okay? They're not coming from aliens. If these angel thingies or whatever it is that these things are that are talking to us in whatever way that it is, because it's not audible. So let's just get that out of the way. None of this shit is audible. All of the stuff has been circumstantial, has been in your face. I mean, just over the top. So, one last thing before we go, because it is time to go. That if you have anyone in your life that has sickle cell or anemia, then they need to get some leucine in their body. That is an amino acid that helps iron to be absorbed into the body, which is what causes all these conditions from anemia. I hope this has helped you out a lot, because it sure helped me to kind of explain to you why it is that it is this way. We didn't ask for this, but it is an honor to be here. So if that helped you, do me a favor and hit the like button and share this if you want, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm the Professor, and I'm out. It's time for some eggs and some steak.